This is a case where we do have a body. However, there are many events that could be determined that foul play is involved. A young man whose life was cut short. Devastated parents wanting answers. In the words of Tommy's parents, "We want to thank all of the people who called 911 and stopped at the scene to help. We know this is difficult to talk about, but really, not talking about it is worse. Please look carefully at the pictures. You may be in the picture, know someone in the picture, or maybe you were there and heard something. Please watch the video and leave a comment."
Thomas Robert Jodfrey was born on New Year's Eve. He had dark eyes surrounded by long lashes and a dense head of hair. He was an easy baby with a pleasant disposition and cried only when needed. He smiled a lot, and everyone loved Tommy. He was inquisitive, playful, and smart. He had commanded the English language at a young age. At age 4, he would often get up early, turn on the TV, and watch the news. Like any other boy, he loved playing with his cars and trucks, and especially loved his Toy Story Woody doll, and often dressed up as a cowboy. Tommy had a great elementary and junior high school experience. He loved learning and always got good grades. His writing teachers praised his ability to describe things vividly, and he won several writing awards. He enjoyed art from a young age, and one of his drawings won a contest in the local newspaper. In 6th grade, he was elected student council treasurer after a successful campaign and humorous speech to the entire school. Tommy always tried to get involved in things that he enjoyed. When he was younger, he would hand out campaign stickers for Pedro while walking around campus dressed up like a mariachi. He was never shy about doing anything back then. Tommy always enjoyed playing sports, and he was good at them too. He focused more on enjoying the sports than needing to win, but he always gave his best effort. As with many local families, many weekends were spent at soccer games. Over time, his interests changed to baseball, and by high school was on the golf team. Tommy's high school experience was difficult, as he was bullied starting in 9th grade. 10th grade was when he began to struggle with his self-esteem. He carried this burden for many years, before finally seeking help from a local therapist, who he truly cherished. Tommy was making plans for his future and had developed new friendships with a few young men who were truly kind to him. He was working on expanding his cactus sale business, which he had been nurturing since age 12. He was adept at using the computer and was doing a brisk online cactus sale business. His focus was on water-wise landscaping, which he advertised on his Instagram and Facebook sites. He had recently purchased a 2001 Chevy pickup to expand his sales at local flea markets. Tommy had also recently planted a new cactus and succulent garden with the help of a friend. This was his own garden laid out in his backyard. Tommy was looking forward to the future. On September 14, 2019, he ventured out with an acquaintance, 56-year-old David Knight of Atascadero. They had communicated for several weeks about their shared appreciation for art. They left his house to view artwork at Cal Poly, but instead, Mr. Knight took him to the Frog and Peach pub in San Luis Obispo 6 hours later. This man had an open tab, and Tommy was served 5 to 6 shots of whiskey in an hour's time. Tommy died that night. This is incredible. So we must delve into more details of this tragic day and night to speculate on what happened. At approximately 2 p.m., a potential customer for Thomas drove up to his driveway and made a phone call. His father, who thought he was looking for Thomas, walked over to the car and asked if he could help him. The driver, who had not yet introduced himself, said he was looking for Thomas, although his father would later learn his name was David Allen Knight. He did not introduce himself at this time. He politely replied that he sometimes does not answer his phone and went to get him. His father went to Tommy's room and told him. Tommy then reminded him that Knight was the man he'd told me about earlier that week, saying he's a photographer and is going to help me get published with my art, and we are going to look at art. Tommy had a brace on his right arm from a recent elbow surgery stemming from a skateboard accident. He was still healing and had only recently been told that he could start lifting up to 10 pounds. Thomas was looking very bright and happy. Things were starting to fall into place for him. His elbow injury had kept him out of work for more than a year, and the cactus sales provided him with a little spending money and people to talk to. He was unable to drive a car or ride a bike while he was recovering from surgery, but that did not seem to bother him. Tommy and his father walked back to the cactus garden, and Knight then got out of his car. Let's keep trying to put some pieces together after they both left the home. Tommy told his father his plan was to go look at art. Knight drove them to Cal Poly, but they discovered that they had arrived during Cal Poly's week of welcome for new incoming students, and the campus was packed. Parents were helping their kids move into their dorms, and the traffic was in gridlock on campus. Because of the crowds, they left, and Knight took Thomas to grab lunch and visit Montana de Oro. After a few hours there, they made their way to San Luis Obispo. Tommy sent his friend a text message saying he would be home soon and that they were going to look at art. The friend responded that he was going camping with his girlfriend and would see Tommy in a few days. While in San Luis Obispo, Thomas and Knight went to Kreuzberg Coffee on Higuera. At the coffee shop, Tommy saw there was a comedy show happening, but Knight didn't want to pay the cover charge. So they left and went to the Frog and Peach Bar on Higuera Street. At 8:05 p.m., Knight texted the words, "Fuck you," to Thomas' phone. Knight later explained that he sent the message to verify that Tommy was receiving his text messages. Why Knight chose to say "fuck you" in the text message instead of something like "testing 1, 2, 3" was not explained. According to Knight, Tommy did not look at his phone and did not otherwise acknowledge the text message. This is very suspicious. Knight bought Thomas drinks at the Frog and Peach, telling the bartenders to be generous. He said, "Give him as much as he wants. He's a thirsty boy." By 8:45 p.m., the bartenders noticed that Thomas was having trouble speaking, and they cut him off. The bill was over $100, and Knight wasn't seen drinking his own drinks. In the video, Knight is seen getting handsy with Thomas and pulling him towards his crotch. Thomas was very upset by this behavior and left ahead of Knight. He walked in the opposite direction of Knight's car. Thomas was experiencing an alcohol overdose and was observed to fall in between two cars parked on Higuera Street. He became unconscious, and a young woman who had followed them from outside the bar called 911. Knight made no attempt to call 911 or to get Thomas the help he needed. Thomas regained consciousness but was seen by others to be panicking every time David Knight came near him. Knight appeared to be helping, but no one saw their interactions in the bar, from which Thomas was running away. Thomas tried again to get away from Knight, who followed him from a distance. Knight found him, put Thomas' phone in his own back pocket, and followed Thomas. Once again, Thomas fell, and a young observer heard Thomas say, "Help me, someone is after me." Thomas then proceeded in the direction of the Marsh Street parking structure. At around 9:15 p.m., someone called emergency services to report that someone had fallen from the car park. The 911 operator ended the call abruptly to request an ambulance. While the officer was tending to Tommy, an unknown male, later identified as Knight, approached him and asked what happened. The officer asked Knight to stop. Knight told the officer, "I know him, that is Tommy, but I do not want to be on record that I know him." Knight told the officer Tommy's name and the name of the city he lived in. But Knight refused to identify himself to the officer or provide any further information, even though he had Thomas's cell phone in his pocket. Later on, Tommy was transported by ambulance to Sierra Vista Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 9:49 p.m. While all of that was going on, Tommy's parents were at a Saturday night concert in the park near their home in Atascadero. When they arrived home at about 10 p.m., Thomas was not home, and they became alarmed and called Tommy's cell phone repeatedly, but received no answer. There was a knock on the parents' front door around 10:20 p.m. When Knight appeared, he asked if they remembered him. The father said that he did, but inquired about Tommy. Knight said that he had Tommy's cell phone and handed it over. They asked why Knight had Tommy's cell phone, and he replied that he found it on the ground. The parents welcomed him into the house. Knight told Tommy's parents what happened that evening. He lost Tommy downtown and then heard police sirens. Knight went over to the scene near the parking garage and saw someone that looked like Thomas, but the police refused to give him any information. Knight advised them to call the hospital, so they called the Sierra Vista Regional Medical Center, where his father worked as a registered nurse. His father was put on hold, so he hung up and called the nursing supervisor's personal number. While Tommy's mother was attempting to ask Knight some questions in our living room, Tommy's father was in the next room making the phone calls. Knight answered a few questions, but then rudely told Tommy's mother that he was trying to hear the conversation with the hospital, implying that she should remain quiet. They eventually contacted the nursing supervisor, who informed the father that Tommy had died, and that the police were also at the hospital and that we should come down. His parents were devastated when they found out. Knight was crying and freaking out on the couch while repeating, "How could Thomas do this to me?" His father told Knight to leave and said he could come back the next day to tell them what had happened to Tommy. Knight never came back or called them again. After identifying their son's body, the Jodfreys met with police at the hospital. Police asked the Jodfreys how they knew to come to the hospital, and they explained Knight coming to their home. Officers then told the Jodfrey that Knight identified Jodfrey as Thomas and then ran off. So 2 years on, we are no further ahead than what actually happened. To me, Knight knows more than he is telling. There are pictures that were taken at the scene, and Tommy's parents seek people in these to come forward, and maybe they can add more. I think Knight was grooming Tommy, and it turned to custard when Tommy showed objections to him. Bill and Mary Jane, Thomas' parents, have filed a wrongful death suit against Knight. They are accusing Knight of plying their son with alcohol at a bar in downtown San Luis Obispo before his tragic death. Knight certainly is the main suspect after all. Pumping all that liquor into Tommy is very odd. What did happen at the bar? Someone out there must know something, or someone in the pictures can help. Please leave a comment on what you think happened causing Tommy to fall from the high-rise car park.